Well, here we are with another Pentastar. This has a correlation issue. At least that's what the computer says. It runs bad. It sounds like it's jump time when you turn the engine over, but I verified all of my timing marks. The crankshaft is on top dead center. Verified that by the spark plug hole right there. My timing marks for the camshaft are face up. Those two on the back have the two lines facing one another. These two on the front have the two arrows facing one another. Based off of what it says online for the repair procedure, is that's right and this is left, even though it's not. That one's back, this one's front, or left and right, because most people are facing the front of it. So if you look at the front of the engine, this side right here is where the two arrows are going to point at one another, and that back there is the two dashes that are going to point at one another. Your arrows are actually pointing at the top of the valve cover mating surface, and they do have special tools for this. I remember seeing one a little while back that goes actually in the pins to be able to lock the two into place, but they also have the two pieces that go in the front of the camshaft sprockets themselves. But you still have to have everything lined up in order for that to be a workable tool. So if you're taking all this off to verify your timing marks, one thing I would recommend is getting that spark plug out of the back for the number one, which is going to be here. Then rotate your engine. You see I have the crankshaft pulley off. The bolt for that is, I think this is an 1 1/16. She's a hefty one, that's all I know. 1 1/16, yes. It's very tight, but you can put, what I did was put a 1/2 inch impact on it with an 1 1/16 socket, buzz it off. You don't have to have a special tool for this. Although whenever I first tried to take this pulley off, it didn't want to come off. But I came back at it today and pulled it straight off of there. Grab it at the bottom and pull straight out, because of course naturally the weight is going to want to hold everything down. And when you get to top dead center, you're going to be looking at your crankshaft and wondering if there's a way that you can figure out exactly where that timing mark is without having to take all of this off the front. And you can. If you look inside of there, you can see the keyway somewhere in there. It's back off in there in the back. So that is at the 11 o'clock position. And 9 teeth down from there is about here. And that is supposed to sit 90 degrees with the bottom of your engine. That's where your timing mark is at. You can also do this by having a bunch of 1/2 inch extensions on a 1/2 inch breaker bar with your socket. Put the bolt back in. Come up here and put, this is about 8 inches worth of extensions or so. Quarter drive. Put this into the hole back there. And you'll know if you're on exhaust stroke or intake stroke, because if you can see by the timing marks, but if you've gotten your valve covers off, you'll watch these marks here. You see the two arrows pointing at one. Well, you can't see. I can see. You can't see. You see the two arrows pointing at one another there. If they're facing away from each other, you're on the intake stroke and not the exhaust stroke for number one. This is on the intake stroke. That one's on the exhaust stroke. So with these two facing one another, then that means that your number one cylinder is on exhaust stroke. If for whatever reason these two are facing one another and those two arrows are facing one another, you might want to go find another engine. But anyways, if they're close here in the front, granted, your arrows are going to be slightly off if you're just before top dead center. This arrow here is going to be facing more towards the upper part of the radiator, and the one for the front cam or exhaust cam is going to be facing more towards the cylinder head. That means when you rotate, it's going to come in line with one another. But you're going to drop your extension down in that hole and slowly turn it from the outside. I've already done all of this, so I don't want to go putting sockets in and run the chance of getting something stuck. But once it gets up to top dead center and starts to crest, that's when you know you're on your mark. And then get set, go. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, you'll be on your mark, and your lines should line up. If they don't, then you have a timing issue. This one has to be facing one another with the arrows. This one. That one has to be facing one another with the dashes. Your crankshaft pulley should be, the keyway should be at 11 o'clock. Close to 11 o'clock. I mean, you have to put a clock in front of it to be able to know exactly where it's at. But if you can't read an analog clock, I apologize, but it's at this angle. Anyhow, if it helped you, please like, subscribe, share the video, and I appreciate it.